And now I would like to invite all those that are young and young at heart to join me down here for the story for all ages. Don't be shy. Come on down. I see some familiar faces. Hey! Long time no see. Okay, so this is a great big thick book. And I guess they would like for me to tell you that I'm not going to read every word. Did you hear that? Somebody said, shoo. All right, the name of this book is Hope for the Flowers. Some of you who are as old as I am will remember that this book came out in the 70s, early 60s, late 60s, early 70s. And you can see by the edges. Do you see what happened to the edges of this book? What happened? Yeah. And some things got spilled on them, which means that I've read this book a lot. Now, I'm not going to read it to you this morning, but it does have a lot of pretty pictures. Drawings, not pictures. It's about butterflies and caterpillars. So the first caterpillar we're going to meet is a caterpillar named Stripe. Do you see Stripe? Here's Stripe right here. Okay, so Stripe kind of came into the world and said, man, I'm hungry. And so he climbed up on a branch and he ate everything that was on the plant. I mean, every leaf. And he did that for a couple of days. Have you ever seen a caterpillar on a branch of they eat everything. And sometimes that's kind of sad because the plant doesn't make it if the caterpillar eats everything. Well, he did that for a while. And he kind of got bored. He said, well, there's got to be more to life than this. So he climbed down off of the tree and kind of wandered about for a while. And he saw a few more caterpillars eating leaves. And then he saw this whole bunch of caterpillars, and it looked like they were all going in the same direction. So he said, well, maybe I'll follow them and figure out what my purpose in life is. And then all of a sudden, he saw this mound of caterpillars climbing on one another, climbing up to something. And he said, wow, I got to see what's up there at the top. Let's go. So he started to climb, and each day he made it a little further to the top. But there was something a little bit bothering about that. You know, he was having to step over other caterpillars, and he wasn't making very much progress. And there was just something tugging at him about maybe hurting the other caterpillars. And then he saw this beautiful yellow caterpillar. And they started conversing. Now, wait a minute. Caterpillars don't talk, do they? Do you think caterpillars talk to one another? Well, they may have some kind of language we don't know about yet. But anyway, let's pretend that they did talk to one another. And they said, what do you think's at the top? Well, what do you think's at the top? Well, all of you went into thinking position. I see it. Somebody, what do you think's at the top? Food? Okay. Somebody out there said nothing. You've read the book. Okay, so they kept climbing for a couple more days, and then they said, you know, maybe we should just stop climbing. So they did. They stopped climbing and pretty much ended up back down on the ground. And when they got back down on the ground, they could hug one another, and they had plenty of room to move about. And they had the grandest time just moving about on the ground and eating things. And pretty much, guess what happened? Oh, come on, Dominic. They got bored. And so Stripe said to Yellow, I think the purpose of what we're supposed to be here for lies at the top of that wall of caterpillars. We got to go back. And Yellow said, I can't go back. So Stripe said, well, I hope I see you again. It's so sad that I'm leaving. You won't go with me? You sure you won't go with me? Nope, can't go. So Stripe goes back and starts fending his way, making it to the top. And about halfway up, he sees 3 large caterpillars fall to the ground and say, nothing at the top. Butterflies only. He doesn't understand that. Meanwhile, Yellow walks over to a branch, and she sees another caterpillar spinning. Well, what's that caterpillar doing? Yeah. And so she talks to that other caterpillar and says, what in the world are you doing? And that caterpillar says, well, I'm making a butterfly out of myself. Well, how can you do that? And he says, well, it's a long process, but basically, I'm not going to be a caterpillar anymore. I'm going to be a butterfly. But don't you have to die in the midst? Well, sort of die, but then I become somebody else or something else. And then I don't have to climb. I can fly. Why don't you try it? So she went back over to that hill and looked up, and she didn't see Stripe anywhere, and so she decided to try it. And she said, but what about Stripe? And he said, well, when you can fly around and find Stripe where he is at the top and say, come on back down, buddy, I got the answer to life. So that's what she did. And she wanted company. So she climbed up on that limb where the other butterfly was in cocoon. And all of a sudden, her knowledge of being able to spin a cocoon was just there. She could do it. Well, in the meantime, Stripe was stronger, went straight almost to the top, and then when he realized what happened at the top, here's what happens. When you get to the very top, the only way to get to the top is to throw the ones at the top off. Oh no, I don't want to be thrown off the top. I'm just going to kind of slink back down a little bit and wait. What is that? And all of a sudden he saw this yellow butterfly. And the yellow butterfly kept coming at him. And he thought, what in the world is that? Look at those eyes. It looks like Stripe. Could that be Stripe? And Stripe tried to pull him out of the mound. And Stripe, those eyes, he knew it must be Stripe. But what was she trying to tell him? And pretty soon he got the message. So he goes back down to the bottom. And he follows Stripe. She leads him around, and she gives him some instructions. Well, there he goes. He makes his cocoon. And guess what he becomes? A butterfly. Yes, and look at the two together. Yeah. And do you think it's better to climb over other people to get to the top and push them off? Or is it better to fly like a butterfly and nectarize flowers and make them bloom and make the world a prettier place? Those are the monarchs, yeah. But what do they do in the meantime? They start way up north and all the way down. They suck nectar out of flowers and then they deposit it on another flower and they pollinate it and it just makes the flowers bloom. And that's why we have pretty flowers. So all of you are in the process. Let's see, are you in the cocoon stage yet? Are you in the pupa stage yet? I'd say you're pupas. Because you're pupils, right? In school, you're pupils. So at some point, you're going to have to make decisions about whether you're going to be climbers or cocoon makers. Because you know you can all turn into beautiful butterflies. Okay, some of us learn lessons easier than others. But it's just a thought. Okay, so keep it in the back of your head, okay? All right. Thank you very much. I think we have a song to sing, and I don't know the words.